DorkLair! Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Mythic Legions Kkurzog. This is from the Siege at Bjorngar wave, and this is the new figure type from the Four Horsemen. This is a larger scale, roughly 9-inch figure type, and it's definitely closer in build construction to like the 1.0 and 2.0, like their figures, than it is to their trolls. This isn't like some kind of hollow rotocast thing. This is a super massive, dense, heavy plastic. So, you know, this is much more so an action figure than sort of the statuesque qualities of those trolls. This thing's awesome. There's two other sort of giant scale or ogre scale figures, and that is the so this is Kkurzog, and he's basically an ogre. And then there's an Ogre Legion Builder, and then there's also the Bolthor the Tower, who is essentially like a giant. He looks like a big, huge barbarian. So this is a really cool release from these guys. Just a brand new setup for their line, and it's pretty awesome. He only comes with the one weapon. There's a few options for that weapon, but only the one. But he does have this really detailed harness that's removable, so that could be considered an accessory. And just the paint and the detailing on him is just truly phenomenal, and I'm super impressed with it. I do know that there have been some QC issues where people have been a little excited and open up their figures and just start articulating them, and because these are really tightly jointed figures, there's been some snapping. So some QC issues there. There is a little warning in the package that tells you to heat up your figure, which is always a good idea when you have stiff joints, to make sure you heat it up. I used a blow dryer and everything worked out great. All of the joints worked just fine. I was super careful with it, but you know, it takes a little patience sometimes to not just dive right in and start messing around and trying to articulate your figure. Anyways, let's take a look at the packaging. So Bolthor comes in a box, not the sort of blister card of the regular figures. And this box is actually really nicely decorated. Nate Barch did the art, and it's phenomenal. I'm just going to kind of linger on this for a minute, how good that artwork is, just all around the box there. Really cool stuff here. That's Bolthor right there on that side. And then there's a demon on the top. Beautiful stuff right there. On the bottom, there's just some sort of like warnings and legal stuff. And then on the back, you'll see right here, it's got credits for the designers and the production and all that stuff there. It's got a picture of him here, and that kind of wraps around to his little bio here on the side. And yeah, so really just great packaging here. Beautiful artwork. I'd love a poster of that, actually. I hope they do that someday. But big box, really nice. And real quick, this is the size comparison. So this is the goblin that came in the new wave. So you can see how it looks next to a standard sized Mythic Legions package over here. So pretty big. All right, starting this off with a tour around the details of this figure. Look at that head sculpt. Freaky. Yellow eyes. You got these very detailed teeth. Tusks, if you will, on the ogre, and lots of just skin texture and you know, kind of like fine shading and all that stuff. One thing is you can actually see that ball peg in the back a little bit too much. I don't like that a lot. You know, if you lift his head up, it's okay. You can't really see it that much, but once you put that head down a little bit, you can definitely see it. But a nice little close-up of his face right here. Into the body. Lots of nice shading in there to kind of like bring out the shape of the muscles throughout the entire sculpt. Looks really great. I'm just going to kind of stay on the sculpt for now. So then you have the hands over here. Hands look awesome. The hands are really stiff. I'll talk about those when we get to the accessories. Got the thighs there. And then down into the feet. So Lots of good stuff here. Lots of nice shading. Just a ton of paint detail. Looks really sharp. Just an awesome ogre. And then as far as the rest of the stuff on there, let's get a close-up of this harness on his chest. The harness is technically an accessory because you can remove it. So around the back side of it, there are two pegs right there, right in the middle, right here. These two things are basically pegged in, and it comes right off. But yeah, you can see it's all sculpted plastic, but it has the effect of looking like you have leather straps, and then underneath it, it's like a fur padding. So it looks really cool. I love the look of that. Tons of detail there. Lots of depth. Got those silver buttons or rivets and things throughout. And a lot of that same kind of detail is on the wrist guards, which also come off, actually. If you take his hands off, these wrist guards come right off. So these things are swappable. So that's really cool. But wow, just look at the detail on those. Beautiful stuff here. And then he has his belt, another piece that's separate and removable. Under the skirt, if you will, there's also another skirt. So there's like a fur-esque kind of thing going on underneath there. My lighting's not doing it justice, but you can kind of see there that dark black fur right there. The cut's not amazing. Like you're gonna see sort of the backing of it, but other than that, it looks pretty cool, and it adds to the depth and texture of the figure. So that's really neat. You know, and it's got this skull face on the belt buckle. You've got these bones hanging down, buckles and straps and leather and rivets and everything throughout. There's more of that fur skirt in the back. And then down here, you can see the legs. The legs are the legs. Like these are not like the forearms where they come off. These are the sculpted legs here. So these kind of greaves or whatever around his shins and calves. Beautiful. Nice weathering going on there. Some dry brushing. Fantastic. These are just awesome. Okay, so I brought in a bunch of figures so you can get a sense of his size. And we'll start off with some Mythic Legions. So here is a Goblin, a 2.0 sort of knight body. This is the Vampire Knight. And then a 1.0 type of Orc. So yeah, he's a lot bigger than these other ones and just looks awesome with them. And real quick before I move on from the fantasy stuff, if you want a massive giant type character for your Vitruvian Hacks boss fight figures, there's the Knight of Accord next to the Ogre. So yeah, he looks pretty cool with the boss fight stuff. And next, a couple Mezco figures, because I do a lot of Mezco. I think it's good for my audience to see here for comparison. So there's a regular Batman figure, and then here is what I think is my biggest, definitely my heaviest, but I think it's my biggest Mezco, and that is Darkseid. So Darkseid's pretty big. This dude is huge. All right, for some Star Wars figures, if you want to see how he looks next to a standard sized Black Series figure, there's the Mandalorian. Can't wait for November 12th. And next up is a hyperreal Darth Vader, who stands roughly at the same height as Kkurzog. So these two figures are roughly 9 inches high, and they actually are pretty close in size. It's just that Vader's a little slimmer, and the Orc's just a little bit chunkier. And one last Star Wars figure. Here is the Wampa, who is approaching his size, not quite, but getting there in size. And finally, one figure that I have that is actually bigger than him is my 1/6 scale He-Man figure. So you got to get up into the 1/6 scale before you get figures that are bigger than him. So there he is next to He-Man, which will come up in just a minute because we're going to see how he looks with some of He-Man's accessories. And one more size comparison. I just wanted to make sure I get him in here next to the Troll. So Kkurzog comes with basically one weapon, and it is this mace with these really sharp-looking blades on it. It's nicely detailed. It's got some really nice dry brushing there, giving it a weathered metal look to it. It does come with a couple little attachments, and so you can change the length of the weapon. I do kind of wish it maybe come with one other head to switch out and make a different weapon, but pretty cool. It's a nice-looking weapon, and it looks great in his hands. And there you can see how it looks with him holding it. Just an awesome looking mace. Very menacing. Very fitting for a giant ogre-looking guy. And let me just show you a couple other things. So I just got to say, literally a second ago, right before I started this segment, I warmed up his hands with the blow dryer. So his hands right now are soft and pliable because I warmed them up. But if you were to try to just straight up put the weapon in his hand without warming it up, it's just, there's no movement. It's super stiff. So one thing I just want to show you is I got the idea to maybe see how He-Man's weapons looked because, you know, there's just not enough big weapons for this guy. So here is the bone sword from Skeletor. And the bones can kind of go with those bones there. Pretty neat. And then the other one is the axe that came with He-Man. Skeletor also has an axe, but it's a little bit different. The axe just looks awesome in his hand. It just looks so natural, and it just seems right for this size character. So either have him with it, or maybe Bolthor, because those Masters of the Universe Mondo figures, they come with so many accessories. You can use them on some other figures. Like I think Scareglow is coming with 2 more of these. So definitely some extras of these laying around. And then, like I said, I thought I would show you how he looks without the armor piece on here. So this pops right off. Super easy. Comes right up and over, and boom, it's off. And so that kind of, if you want to see how it pegs in right here, just pegs one side there and then one side over here. So pretty cool. Comes right off. He does have some peg holes in his back, so I think he can take wings if you want to put wings on him, which is really neat. And then here's how he looks with his armor off. He looks equally badass without the harness on there. So really cool. So like if you have this one and then you have the Ogre Legion Builder, you can have one sort of with the harness on and then maybe one without it. So really cool option to be able to put that on and off. Awesome, awesome touch. All right, so before I get into the articulation, I just want to say that the first thing I did when I opened this thing up was I took a hairdryer and I warmed it up. All the joints, every single one. I spent a lot of time slowly working it until I felt comfortable moving it a little bit more and more. So mine's probably going to look a little easier to articulate than it would if you just took it out of the box. And I highly recommend it because I have seen on the groups there's been some breakages. And so unfortunately there have been some QC issues. There was even a warning that because they were trying to really work on tightening up their joints, that that is definitely a possibility because they're trying to find that middle ground between loose joints and possible breakage. So hopefully they're getting there. But mine, once I did that, it's perfect. It works well. It is still super tight, but that's a good thing. With a big figure like this, you want very tight joints because you want him to be able to sustain his own weight in different poses. All right, so the head can look up that far, and the head can look down this far, and it can knock side to side and sort of spin all the way around. The big thick neck does get in the way, so if you want to do like a sideways pose, his head starts to kind of cock to the side a little bit as you do that. But yeah, decent amount in the head there. The arm can come up a little further than that, I think. Maybe about, yep, there we go. The arm can come up that far, and there's no cut in the bicep, but it does swing around. And then down at the elbow, it can swing up here, and the elbow can rotate as well. So pretty good movement. Get a look at the full range there. It's not quite 90 degrees, but can get some decent poses out of this big boy. And then I'm going to show you the hand. So the hand, let me pop the hand off. So again, this thing comes right off here, and you can see his wrists right there. So you can go bare-wristed if you want, or put his gauntlet back on there. And then you can see the hand is the hand is sort of like the typical kind of thing with the Mythic Legions, and it pops right back in. And the hand will rotate all the way around, and it will flex back and forth. There's a ball joint at the hip. There's quite a bit of range of motion, actually. I mean, he can bend forward this far, and then he can bend back that far. So good, nice motion in the hip, in the waist there. Probably my tightest joint was down in the hips here, and the detents. Again, you can actually see them if you look in there. You can start to see a little bit of them right there. That kind of like creates those points of articulation. But mine in here, So there's a peg that goes through, and then this side screws into that peg. So if you were to do the hips, you'll see that both legs will move because that middle joint is one piece. And at first, because everything was heated up and soft, this leg wasn't moving because it was just flexing. So that was a little weird because softening it up was making it worse kind of in that situation. But yeah, so he can basically do the splits all the way out. So there's nothing like a giant ogre doing the splits right there. And he can kick his leg. He can kick his leg this far forward, and then he can bring his knee back down about this far here. And then he can put his knee straight that way, and there is a rotation at the knee. And then a lot of good articulation in the feet. So he can point his feet down a little bit. He can point his feet up quite a lot, and then they can spin all the way around. And then he can also pivot his ankles as well. So tons of good motion in those feet right there. Mythic Legions always have good ankle articulation. Overall, I am very impressed with the new Ogre scale figure. Kkurzog is awesome. He's got a lot of character in that face. Just an awesome sculpt. Super big, chunky figure. The joints are nice and tight. Obviously, some people have had QC issues, and that's very unfortunate. But luckily, I don't have those issues, and so I am really digging this figure. I can find almost nothing wrong with it, aside from maybe I wish it came with like another weapon or just another head for the same weapon. But yeah, so this guy is really cool. Highly recommend. I don't know how they're going to work out the... I don't know how they're going to do the in-stock sale this time. I'm assuming that it'll be run by Megalopolis Toys, who's now their sort of like their distributor. But we'll see, because usually there is an in-stock sale, and they did say that they will eventually make an announcement and talk about the in-stock sale. This one was $55 on the pre-order, so if they have an in-stock sale, it should be $55 again, I think. And then the Ogre Legion Builder was $40, and that one should hopefully be $40 as well when they do an in-stock sale. If you're impatient, Big Bad Toy Store and some of the other kind of like retailers have some of these. I know that the markup isn't quite as bad on the Legion Builder, which is at like $50 on those sites. So for that price, I think that's actually not too bad, especially when some sites offer free shipping and so on. But yeah, highly recommend this figure. If they do an in-stock sale, do not miss out on this guy. This dude is awesome. And until next time, may the force be with you.